Hi, let's do arithmetic. We'll focus on arithmetic operations and algebra, as well as the BODMAS rule, which helps us do calculations. Now, let's look at the symbols that we use a lot in algebra. So these form the foundation for many of the equations and formulas you see in mathematics and sciences. First, we have numerals and variables. So numerals are just symbols that represent numbers. So there are many ways to write numbers, but as mathematicians, we have settled on the Hindu-Arabic numeral system, which is the numbers that we are all used to. And you have arithmetic operation signs, like addition, and it's written like that, and subtraction, multiplication, and division. So with this, you can form expressions, but we can also introduce brackets that are used for grouping. So we use this to group terms and expressions. Then we have the equal sign, which is used to form equations where you take two expressions, one on the left and the other on the right, and equate them. Let's take this example here. Can you see what's wrong with this expression? Well, this should be obvious. There's a bracket here. There's a right bracket or a closed bracket, which is missing an open bracket. So this is a wrong expression. So to correct it, you simply need to put the open bracket at the right place. So there's 3 places where you can put the open bracket: before the 3, or before the 9, or before the 2. Okay, we can do this. Now this is correct. So we have grouped these 2 terms inside the brackets. Here's another example. Can you see what's wrong with this one? Okay, we have 2 operators next to each other. Remember that these arithmetic operators are binary operators, so they take 2 inputs. So there must be one thing on the left. In particular, that thing can be a number. So there can be a number on the left, or a term on the left, and another one on the right. So you cannot have 2 operators following one another like that. So it's wrong. How can you correct it? Well, you can just remove the multiplication and be left with a plus, or remove the plus and be left with a multiplication. Then we have correct expressions. Now let's look at simplifying expressions. Now, to simplify simply means you take a long or complicated expression and you make it into a simpler one. And to evaluate means to find the value as a number. Well, we have a bunch of options to do this. Calculate, which is what we normally use in exams. And you also have a phone calculator. You can't use this in the exams. And nowadays you have AI. So people trust AI to do calculations for them. I don't recommend you do calculations with AI. Then you have manual calculation. This is where now we begin to do mathematics. So all of these tools, the calculator, your phone calculator, and AI, do the manual calculations in the background. So they are just fast. They do the manual calculations fast enough so that we don't have to waste time doing them. Right? But since you're learning maths, you have to learn the manual way, so that one day you yourself can also build calculators and machines that do the manual calculations for us. Now, in order to simplify an expression, you have to first make sure that it's written correctly. Are the brackets correctly written? Are your operators correctly written? Then from there you're going to use the properties of real numbers to work with the expression. So we covered this in previous videos. You can check them. That's the real number system playlist. Now, the BODMAS rules simply help us to decide which operators to start working with. So together, the BODMAS rule and the properties of real numbers are what allows us to do mathematics So this is the heart of doing mathematics. Let's look at the BODMAS rule. It simply tells us the order. So which operation should we perform first? That's what the BODMAS rule is all about. Now you'll see that the order starts with brackets, orders, division, multiplication, addition, then subtraction. So it means if you're given an expression, you just look at each of these elements in order, starting all the way from brackets to subtraction. Let's take an example here. Here we're not going to use BODMAS. Look at it. This is correctly written, right? So it's a valid expression. Now, we want to evaluate it. So without BODMAS, we are presented with three options: the plus, division, and subtraction. We have to start with one of them because we can only work with one operator at a time, right? So we decide to start with a plus. Let's say we start with a plus. Then it means we add 2 and 9. We get 11. Now the expression is being simplified, so we can do calculations further. We have division and subtraction. Well, we decide, okay, subtraction seems a bit easier to do. Let's go with it. Then we have 3 minus 1. We're left with a 2. Then we have 11 divided by 2. This one is just 11 over 2, and we are left with 5,5. So our calculations are correct, at least if we are not following BODMAS. Now, mathematicians have standardized BODMAS. In fact, that's how your calculators do the calculations, right? So that's how it actually does it in the background. So with BODMAS, right, we now have a consistent way of doing calculations. So if I use BODMAS and you use BODMAS, we must get the same answer. So let's see. Now, according to BODMAS, when we're presented with an expression like this, we're going to decide, okay, do we see brackets? No. Do we see any exponents or powers? No. Do we see divisions? Yes. So division must be calculated first. So it means we're going to group 9 and 3 together. What do we have? We have a 3 as the answer. So 9 divided by 3 gives us 3. Now, we are left with plus and subtraction. If we follow BODMAS, then addition must follow, right? Then we have 5. So it's 2 plus 3 giving us 5. Then we are left with minus alone, which gives us 4. So this is the correct answer when we follow BODMAS. So if we all follow BODMAS, then this is the answer we should get, right? This is known as operator precedence, right? So it's very important in mathematics. Yeah? So many learners would struggle with simplifying this expression because they don't follow BODMAS and they end up with a wrong answer and they get surprised. So you just have to follow BODMAS. Just start with brackets, look for them, look for others, look for division, then multiplication, then addition, then subtraction, right? Then everything will be easier. With enough practice, this is going to become second nature. Here are exercises to try. If you find any of them difficult or you have any suggestions, you can leave a comment below. As a remark, in this presentation, we only worked with linear expressions. Right? So the other types like quadratic, exponential, or logarithm, or any other type of expression. So we focused on linear because it's easier to get started with if you're getting started. But otherwise, if you are ahead, then just know that what we covered in here also applies to every other type of expression you may be given, right? Also, when you're working with equations or different types of equations, then BODMAS applies, right? So that's what it's used in high school maths, and that's also what we use in advanced mathematics.